everybody. Welcome back to the Fin Factor. I'm Paul.
And I'm Aaron.
This is episode number 143. You know, it's kind of appropriate, actually, if you think about it, because 143, the pager code, of course, for I Love You. This should have been the Valentine's Day episode, but we skipped Valentine's Day. Obviously, there wasn't anything fantastic going on there, but significant in a very kind of coincidental kind of way.
Sure.
Yeah. Not bad. Let's address the gremlin in the room real quick. We're supposed to go on at 9. It's what, 9:50, I think?
It is 9:52.
We had some traffic issues, which was just insane. It was backed up like crazy. Maybe we can post that picture on Twitter or something. Maybe Instagram, because we don't get any Instagram love anymore, right? So
San Jose traffic life. Right.
Goofy, man.
Yeah.
So there was that, and then we have some gremlins, as we said. So it just a crazy night, and we thank you guys so much for sticking around. It just kind of shows we've got a pretty decent following and guys who are loyal to the show, and we appreciate you ever so much. Feel free, by the way, again, to retweet, share, whatever it is on Instagram. Get us out there to the rest of those Sharks friends and family of yours. Get them in this the chat there so we can have these conversations. We love doing that with you guys.
Abismo wants to know, what's a pager?
What is a pager? Yep, I'm old.
Showing
Thank
your
you.
age, huh?
Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah,
you are old.
Been there. Yeah, I'm 40 now, man.
Yeah, I know.
I am 40. I don't look a day over 40. So there's that. Technology. Can't live with it. Can't live without it. Absolutely. And I'll tell you, could not do it without super producer Jason. For as much time went by beyond the actual start time, no way we would have got this thing on the rails without him. So can we get some hand clapping, some fire in the chat there for super producer Jason? He's killing it for us. So there you go. A little bit of appreciation for the man. Good? All right. Yeah. I don't even want to talk about the past games, but we got it on the board. We're going to do it anyway. And we're going to glance over it, I think.
Sure.
The Sharks, just in summary, let's just put it this way. The Sharks have lost the last 6 games straight. Right?
Yes.
So what we're about to talk about, not at all interesting. But I think there's kind of a theme that we can go over with all these games at least. So we're not going to go into each one individually, but... you could go ahead, just kind of kick us off.
We could talk. It's kind of like you get highs and lows here because they went into Tampa Bay. This is the end of that road trip,
right?
And they lost in overtime to Tampa Bay. I thought they played decently. They took the reigning Stanley Cup champions for the last 2 years to overtime. Played much better game than they did when they got blown out at home before, like a week or two before that. So I thought that was good. Then they went into the break, and then they come back and they play Edmonton, right?
Yeah.
At home. And this was Evander Kane's first game against the Sharks. First of, I think he has 4, right?
I think there are 4, yeah. Yeah, total.
So the first game back in San Jose, and the crowd booed him every time he touched the puck. That's pretty normal. I think we have the new villain now, I guess.
Sure.
That everyone's just going to boo. I don't think we really have anyone else that we boo.
I guess I don't really have anything against the guy still, you know what I mean? I don't think he's the type that he touches the puck, I have to boo him, right? If you think back when we played against Calgary, Theo Fleury, right?
Yeah.
He touched the puck, they booed him every time. Yeah, totally. I don't think Evander Kane's that guy. For me, I don't think Evander Kane's that guy. But I'm not going to say, don't boo him. Just, do your thing.
Right? In the past, there's been Theo Fleury. There's been
Chris Pronger.
Belfour. Soupy. Brian Campbell, after he left.
Yeah.
And... man, has there been another one?
There's a here and there. There's been some guys, but for my money, I don't think Evander Kane necessarily is one of those guys.
No, yeah. So. And to your point, like you said, like it was kind of a dead game, right? Like there was no emotion, there was no nothing. They were going through the motions. Like they looked flat, they looked awful. The Sharks, I mean, Edmonton looked decent. They dominated most of the game.
Well, I mean, again, when you've got Connor McJesus.
Yes.
Okay, and his first apostle, in Leon Draisaitl. There were Germans there. I don't know. So when you've got them, and the funny thing is when you look at Evander Kane and Draisaitl together, 2 dominant offensive forces, but also 2 big, strong bodies. Mm-hmm. It's reminiscent of when Hertl was playing on the same line with Evander Kane, right? 2 big, strong bodies, 2 offensively charged players. who could get the job done. So I think he's fallen back into that position in Edmonton here. I think he's probably going to be playing alongside of Draisaitl moving forward, which is good for him, good for his career. Again, I wish him all the best. I saw a comment earlier that said, I hated that the fans booed him. I mean, I'm kind of with you. I don't hate it. I don't love it, but I mean, it is, neither here nor there. But, he's going to be one of those guys. That's where he's going to play, and he's going to be that force. So, I don't know. It is what it is, and again, I wish him all the best. But yeah, when you've got those players on your team, and you're an offensively minded player who belongs on the first or second line, and they've got McDavid and Draisaitl on the first and second line, you're going to be playing with one of the world's best, no matter which way you cut it. So he's going to thrive there. He's going to do fine. So good for him.
He needs 1-year contracts, maybe 2-year contracts. That's about it, and then he'll thrive. I think this is kind of his problem is money management, and you can see just throughout his history. And then he's got other issues, obviously, off the ice. But he set himself up well. Getting out of San Jose in a contract that pretty much was untradeable, and landing in Edmonton and playing with Draisaitl and or McDavid, that's you landed on your feet pretty well there.
Now I don't know if he's on the first power play. If he is, then he's playing with both of them.
Right.
And
that's that's enough Kane talk.
Anyway,
let's move on here. So after that, went to play against Vancouver.
Even when he's not on the team, we have to talk about him. What's going on, man?
I'm tired of it.
This is ridiculous.
So playing against Vancouver, this game was exciting. Two teams kind of the bottom of the Pacific Division fighting over scraps. And it was an exciting game. It was a 5-4 overtime loss. Yeah. But to get to overtime, the Sharks, Barabanov scored with 0.6 seconds left.
Incredible.
Now, I was chatting with the fantasy hockey group for the Fin Factor, and we have a little chat room in Fantrax, and we're talking. And this was before Vancouver had scored the go-ahead goal. I said, watch this. The Sharks are going to do whatever they can. They're going to lose this game. Then they score, and I'm like, oh, great. Now the Sharks are going to come back and score, and I bet it's going to be with no time left on the clock, and they're going to review it, and it's going to say no goal. and then it happened. I was like, oh, my gosh. Like this could actually happen. But it stood, so thankfully they got a point out of it.
Nice.
But went to overtime, and then I thought they looked terrible in overtime. Just they couldn't get possession of the puck. It really hurts when they don't have Karlsson. Karlsson missing these games. The Sharks are definitely missing that puck moving defenseman. Burns is not quite as good as Karlsson is, and it trickle down effect kind of.
We've seen Burns launch these 100-foot passes, right? Yeah. We've seen him launch those before and go tape to tape with it. But they're fewer and farther between, and really Burns' strong point isn't necessarily his passing. His strong point is being on that on the point, walking the blue line, getting that wrister through somehow. Every single time he fires that shot, somehow, some way, it gets through. I don't get it. The guy's he's a magician.
He's a shooting defenseman.
He absolutely is.
Karlsson's more of a playmaking defenseman. He scores goals.
Right.
Not that he doesn't score goals, but Burns is more of, I'm going to get it to the net, someone's going to deflect it, or I'm just going to snipe it from the corner of the blue line.
See, and I had this conversation with somebody the other day where, when Pavelski didn't resign, it took that offensive weapon away from Burns. And so his game had to evolve a little bit. And I think it's taken him a little bit longer because he's so used to being able to just throw the puck at the net. Whereas, again, what you're saying they were missing is Karlsson's playmaking ability. Again, we've seen him being able to just walk in across the blue line and so effortlessly. He just glides in, and people kind of give him too much respect sometimes, and he just takes the puck across the blue line. Those entries, you have to get in the zone before you can have a scoring chance. So he's giving his team an opportunity to do that every single time he carries that puck across the blue line, and that's something that I see Erik Karlsson doing better and more often than Brent Burns. So yes, absolutely, though there are two offensive defensemen that you really lean on this team, one does one thing better than the other one does, and when Karlsson's missing, you're really missing that ability to take the puck in the zone, especially when it's 3-on-3 and you have a lot of open ice to work with. So, to your point in this game, absolutely they missed Erik Karlsson for that overtime.
I hate to do this.
Oh, boy.
I'm going to have to circle back on Kane now.
Okay.
There's a lot of chatter going on about it. There's a couple people that want to know point blank what he did wrong and why he's off the team and why people don't like him.
Okay.
I'm going to stick to strictly why the team wanted to get rid of him, as in his teammates and the management.
Okay.
Because the off-ice stuff is, it's relevant, but there's nothing that has stuck really.
Right.
It's too much to go through.
Right.
So he was habitually late to practices, meetings, everything. He was the guy that would always show up right on time.
Or late.
You've played sports, right?
Yeah.
And those guys, there's guys that show up early to practice.
Yep.
They're on the ice and they're warming up. They're already ready to go. They're already laced. The skates, everything's ready. Then there's the guys that show up frantically, always trying to put things on and make it on time before they're late. When you do that every time,
Yeah.
or you miss meetings, and there's no accountability,
It shows a lack of commitment.
a complete lack of commitment.
Yeah.
You need to be a leader on the team and not one of the guys that's skating by, lack of a better term.
I just love
But it added up. The other thing was because of COVID, they laxed the dress code. Now, I know there's history of him in the dress code, right?
Yeah.
But everyone's like, okay, you don't have to wear a suit anymore. You could just look nice, like polo shirt, whatever.
Yeah.
He showed up in a T-shirt every day.
Right.
That's like a slap in the face to everyone else. It's a respect thing.
Right.
And again, it wasn't one thing. He didn't do one thing to get him in the spot where he's at. It was multiple things like this, little things that added up. And the commitment and everything else was just not there. You're not being a leader of the team.
Yeah.
You're not a driver of the bus. You are a passenger. And yeah, sure, maybe on the ice you are the driver.
You're like
of
the drunk passenger, though. You're doing everything the wrong way, and you don't really care. It's not like you're a part of the team and you're contributing and you're on the bus and you're for it, but you're just not a leader.
Right.
Right. He's doing everything wrong along the way.
Right.
Right. So he's a passenger, but he's that belligerent passenger, right? You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So, people listening to this right now, hearing this, going, "Well, gosh, he was still there. He was on time for practice. He was just showing up, like right at the razor's edge of it. Okay, that doesn't seem like a big deal. He wore a shirt, so what? Who cares? It's not a big deal." But again, it goes back to this whole idea of culture, and when things like this are affecting the rest of the group to the point where they're saying, "Gosh, you don't really seem to care," right? We want people in this locker room who care. That affects the culture. And you could see it last season. You can hear it this season with the rest of the teammates saying, "Gosh, we're having so much fun all of a sudden," right? Mm-hmm. That's not a coincidence.
Right.
So is it better that he's off the team? From a culture perspective, yes. Now, is it better in terms of them losing a bunch of games by a goal this season? Yeah, maybe not so much.
That, but yeah.
We'll get there, yeah.
Yeah, anyway. There's a lot of people talking about it, so I didn't want to do it. Circle back on Kane. All right, moving on. Where are we? The Vancouver game, right? So they go to overtime, they lose. Now the Sharks' record in overtime is after the Vancouver game is 6-4.
Right.
So that's 10 games that got decided in overtime. Another 2 games that went to the shootout, so they went to overtime. So that's 12 games that went into overtime. That means that's 1 goal difference, right? Now imagine the Sharks score 12 more goals, and they are in a much better spot, playoff-wise.
Well, it's not even the 12 more goals because their record was 6-4. All they had to do was score.
But regulation wins
Sure.
are more.
But you still get the 2 points, is my point.
Absolutely.
So in those other 6 games, the 4 losses and the 2 shootouts, right?
Yeah.
Did they win the shootouts?
It's 1-1 in the shootout. So
They're
5. That's 5.
5 goals.
5 points.
5 goals is the difference here, right? So, and that puts them...
Not only that, that's 5 points that they're going up, but also those teams that they lost to...
are not gaining.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they would be in a much better spot. Should we jump to that clip?
It makes me so mad. Hold on. I got one more thing to say
Go
before we
ahead.
jump, because it makes me so mad because at the beginning of this season, I said, this is a playoff team. This is a playoff
Now
team.
you're mad because they're proving you wrong.
I'm mad because they're not. Seriously, this is a playoff team, okay? Or it should have been. There's a bunch of guys that are just snake bit right now, number one. Okay, and we'll talk about that in a minute too. And then you've got the injury bug that's been happening, right? Mm-hmm. There's guys that should be in the lineup that are not. And I feel like, again, if this team was healthy in some respect, and look, we've been missing guys, and they still kind of putted along. They're still hockey 500 or better, aren't they?
Exactly.
Well, maybe not
500.
now. Maybe not now.
They're exactly hockey 500.
Okay, they're
which
hockey
is
500.
Not good.
It's not good, but again, if you take these guys that are injured, if Erik Karlsson's there, these 1-goal games, the game that goes to overtime, probably getting 2 points instead of 1 out of that, right? So I don't know. I just feel like this team could still have squeaked into the playoffs like I thought they were going to at the beginning of the season. But one thing after another, and then.
But I also said they couldn't sustain an injury to one of their top guys. Erik Karlsson is out.
Yeah. Right now
they're showing they cannot. Like, they can withstand it for a week or two, and then after that, things are just going to crumble.
Yeah.
Plus, in that second half of the season, which we're into now, other teams that are even closer to playoff spot are playing tighter, playing more playoff hockey style than anyone else, and the refs are swallowing their whistles a little bit more. But on top of that, the Sharks are not scoring the power play. I think the power play, obviously their lack of goal scoring is part of it, but that is hand in hand with the power play being just abysmal. I mean, maybe not abysmal might be a bit harsh, but I think I'm going to say they're 22nd. They're in the bottom third of the league for their power play.
I mean,
if that is even like middle of the pack, we're talking they're closer to being a playoff.
Absolutely. They are in the wild card spot. If they take advantage of that, they are in the wild card spot. You look at those last 4 games that we just talked about, right? 3 of those games out of the 4 was a 2 or fewer, the Sharks scoring, right? And Brody always talks about 2 or fewer, if they can keep it the other team from scoring 2 or less, right? Keep them from scoring 2 or more than 2, I should say. Right. You know what I'm trying to say. If you can keep them to that, then you probably are going to end up winning that game. Well, the Sharks didn't do that, and so they didn't win those games. And the game that they did score 4 goals, they allowed 5. So it's just one of those things where they're having a hard time scoring. And we have a clip here, I don't know if you want to set it up, but it's Logan Couture talking about this very same issue.
Sure. This was, we'll just go quickly. Again, this was after the Vegas game, so last night? Last night's game. Couture was asked about kind of the scoring chances. The Sharks get a lot of scoring chances, but they just can't finish them. And we'll talk about a couple individual people. But here's the clip of Couture and his answer to the question about it.
Seems to be the story all season. We're not finishing around the net on breakaways or open looks, and I don't know. Guys are trying to bear down. Everyone in there wants to score. It's not like you come to the rink and say, "Oh, I can't wait to get a chance tonight," and then miss. You're trying as hard as you can, and it's deflating. Obviously, guys get frustrated and disappointed, and if guys go on long streaks without scoring, you try and keep them positive. And it's so easy to say, "Well, I'm getting chances. It's going to go in. It's going to go in." Until you actually see the puck go in the net, you don't feel that relief. And I'm sure there's a lot of guys in there that feel like there's an extra 10, 20 pounds on their shoulders right now. The puck's not going in, but to say a cliche, keep shooting. It's going to go. It's going to go. It's going to go at some point here.
So Logan very obviously and very clearly calling out Noah Gregor.
That guy, man, and Nieto.
Okay.
I'm
not expecting anything from Nieto.
I don't expect Nieto to score a bunch, and yet he's still outscoring.
Who else is outscoring Noah Gregor?
Jake Middleton is outscoring Noah Gregor.
Can I tell you guys something? When he told me that before the show started, I told him, "Yeah, I'm not even surprised." I didn't even go, "Oh, really?" That sounds about right. That poor guy. You know what?
Noah Gregor,
like him, but he can't put the puck in the net.
He's shooting 2.4%. Not only that, he's missing the net a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of his shots are missing. He is all speed, and he can't keep up with the puck on a stick, right? Sometimes he overskates it. Sometimes he just puts himself in a bad position. He gets himself in a good position, but then he just cannot finish.
I don't know if he's having an aneurysm every time he gets to the crease or what the deal is, but the poor guy just cannot bury the puck.
Can you imagine if he was more of a 8 to 10% shooter?
Oh, gosh.
With all the chances that he's had, he could probably have a dozen goals right now, 10 more goals.
If he's an 8 to 10% shooter, we're winning a whole bunch of those games.
Exactly. How many chances did he have in all of these games? He has at least 2 chances a game that he's not able to bury.
2.4%. That's crazy low. Now, I get it. He's not an NHL caliber guy. He's playing in the NHL, but this isn't really where he belongs. I get that. But
he's
you're
an
getting
NHL,
the chances, bro.
He's an NHL caliber guy that doesn't have the NHL caliber finish.
Yeah.
Like the AHL level, I think he does very, very well for himself.
Yeah.
But then he's that in between player that he's good enough to play in the NHL, but he just cannot finish.
Yeah.
He can't. I don't even know how to fix that. How do you fix that? Just keep shooting.
Practice. No, don't keep shooting. That's what's going wrong. Is you keep shooting the puck.
He's getting
you gotta
breakaways.
take.
He's getting you can't hold
Yeah.
off, right?
Yeah,
Like,
no, that's true. That's true.
A lot of these are breakaways because of his speed. He has elite NHL speed, but he has mediocre AHL finishing.
So here's what you have to do. You have to just, and I sound like Tyler Durden here. You must give up. Okay, don't just forget about trying to score. Just do something other than that. Change your role on the team to something that is going to work for the team.
Like Matt Nieto did.
Matt
Nieto was almost the same type of player. When he first came on the Sharks, all this speed, he kept getting these chances, he kept getting breakaways, and he could not finish. And he eventually changed his game to be a penalty killer. And he is one of the best penalty killers in the league.
Why? He's fast as hell.
He focused on it.
Right?
And he gets chances going the other way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I was Noah Gregor, I would focus my talent on a two-way style of play where you're a reliable penalty-killing force who can pass the puck well, who can get the puck to somebody else who can bury it. Now you've become a valuable asset because you're generating offense not by scoring, but by being fast, pulling guys out of position to cover you, and then giving the puck to someone who can finish. That's what I would be doing if I was him. I would be changing my game because trying to get breakaway after breakaway is only working 2.4% of the time. It's not enough.
I like what Kellen Foster said here.
Okay.
The glass behind the goalie is so afraid of Gregor. That's good. I wonder how many times they've had to clean the glass with all the black puck marks that are on it from him missing the net.
Like, I feel like I'm being very harsh right now, but that was rude, Kellen. Good one, though. I like it. Appreciate it, yeah.
To me, Noah Gregor is a placeholder for next year.
Yeah.
That's all it is right now. He's getting the chances. Give him a chance to get out of his slump. Maybe he buries another 8 goals in the rest of the season, and he ends up with double digits. That's a decent end for him. Maybe a confidence booster into the next season. But we have a bunch of players coming next season that are most likely going to be taking over that spot.
That will completely outplay him for that position, including one Ryan Dzingel, who we claimed off the waiver wire today.
Nice.
I like that. Well, because we spent a lot of time on the Kane thing. I'm moving along here. So, Ryan Dzingel claimed off waivers. So this one was a funny one because he started off in, for this trade at least, he was in Arizona, got traded to Toronto in a package kind of deal, and then immediately goes on the waiver wire. Mm-hmm. Toronto had no interest in him whatsoever, so they put him on the waivers. This is someone that we had talked about in the 2018-2019 season, if I'm correct. This is when the Sharks had played against St. Louis that year in the playoffs, and then they lost out. At that trade deadline, they were looking at bolstering a little bit, and Ryan Dzingel was one of those hot commodities. Didn't end up going to the Sharks, but it looks like they went
to Columbus.
Yeah, he went to Columbus. Yeah. That's right. And so he's kind of bounced around here and there, but now he's with the Sharks now. So I think it's kind of cool that it's a guy that we were interested in potentially at that time, and a couple of years later he's back. He's with us. I'm wondering though, what is it about either current at the time or former Ottawa Senators that Doug Wilson likes so much? Because we seem to take a lot of guys.
Toronto too. Like Toronto, there's a decent amount of action with Toronto.
Barbonov, yeah.
I mean, when we interviewed Doug, here he is right here from our interview.
There you
go. He mentioned that. Yeah, I mean, it's more or less. He said it's a good old boys club. Like all these guys used to a lot of them are former NHL players that played at the same time.
Yeah.
So they all know each other. Some of them are roommates. So there's a very close connection with all these GMs. So you call up your buddy and kick the tires. Like it'd be like you being a GM and me being a GM of different teams. I'm like, hey Paul, come on man, you gotta give me something here. You guys are doing really well. Yeah. We need a little help.
Okay.
What can we do?
I got a Ryan Dzingel for you.
Well, I don't have much to give you. How about you just put him on waivers?
Yeah, I like that. Let's do it.
Bag of pucks coming your way.
Yeah, I want dinner. Morton's. Let's do it.
All right.
Okay.
Fine.
Fire Sholl.
Yeah, no, but it's kind of like that, right? You've got some buddies, and
you see a lot of teams that seem to deal with each other a lot.
Yeah.
Like to me, I see a lot of Chicago and Arizona. Arizona and Philadelphia is another one. Like just a lot of I shouldn't use Arizona because Arizona's just
with everyone
around.
Yeah, they're with everyone.
They'll take on everything if the pay is correct.
Yeah.
So it's funny because Arizona lost in the trade that they had with Toronto. They got less salary cap hit and a draft pick out of it. That's pretty decent, right? Like,
yeah,
that's a good trade-off. That would be a good trade-off for a team in the playoffs, like getting rid of some cap space so you can make another move. Anyway, it's weird that Toronto just got rid of him. And then on top of that, then they made another trade. I think because after Dzingel got taken today, Toronto made another trade with Arizona.
Yeah.
To get Carter Hutton, the goalie, as a backup.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of incestuous, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, let's talk about Dzingel.
Okay, yeah.
Where do you think he's going to line up here?
Okay, so this is you called him. Oh, great, another third line guy, right? So okay, yeah, maybe that's the case. However, haven't we seen some guys on the second line that don't belong on the second line? No, Gregor, and we've seen them kind of perpetually in that spot throughout the season. So I'm hoping, and I'm thinking that Dzingel maybe even slots in on that second line almost right away.
Sure.
Does he belong there? Probably not, but I think maybe that's kind of where he slots in. Now, we talked a little bit about this before the show, and we kind of likened Dzingel to LeBanc. Now, they are separate in their skill sets, sort of, but they're very, very similar players. The main differences being handedness. LeBanc's right-handed, Dzingel's left-handed, and LeBanc more of a playmaking type of forward, and Dzingel more of a shooting type of forward, right? But their similarities are in kind of like their stature. I think one scout said they're easy to bump off 5-on-5, or easy to handle, essentially 5-on-5. So I don't know. Do you think that this is a good acquisition for the Sharks? Is this a guy that's going to come in and help? Because again, what we just got done talking about, they're losing games by a goal. If this is a guy who can pot a goal here and there, now his stats may not say that, but he was a 20-goal scorer twice, and he played for Arizona, and he wasn't too good in Arizona. You're thinking, well, Arizona doesn't have anybody. If he can't do it in Arizona, well, wait a minute. Arizona doesn't have anybody, so maybe he's having a hard time getting the puck there.
He's not a guy that's going to drive the line. He's going to be a guy that needs good players around him to thrive. So another kind of passenger, if you will. But he is a shooting first type of guy who typically scores more than he misses. So, well, that's not quite true. But I think we'll outscore Noah Gregor by the end of the season. We'll see. But to your point about him and LeBanc being the same, they're not so good 5-on-5. They get neutralized pretty well. Yeah. But when they're on the power play, that's where they thrive. So I could see him probably starting on the second line, maybe balance between the second and third line, just like Noah Gregor, maybe kind of switching to the hot hand here, and probably getting top power play minutes to start just to kind of see what this guy can do and bring to the team.
And again, to your point earlier, you had said the Sharks need help on the power play, and maybe this is what they're thinking of, right? So we need somebody who can put the puck in the net. We know it's not happening this season for him, but maybe a change of scenery. How many times have we said that before? You know, a guy needs a change of scenery, and all of a sudden he just wakes up, right? Hopefully, fingers crossed, it's the case for him in San Jose. And especially, again, we need that kickstart of some depth scoring, or just scoring in general. Anywhere, give us a goal. And then on the power play specifically. So if he can thrive on the power play, this might be a pretty good acquisition for the Sharks. So
it was free. It's a free
player.
Well,
I mean, there's a cap hit to it, but absolutely.
I mean,
you'd have to trade.
They didn't have to trade, and
Yeah.
there's no assets that are going out here. Joseph Stockman, Dzingel is a spot filler with more NHL experience. Yeah.
So
That's
he's
good.
okay. So Noah Gregor is a spot filler with less NHL experience.
Yeah.
I'll take Dzingel. Thank you.
There you go.
Okay.
There's some questions here about Doug Wilson, and because he's not acting as the GM currently, he's still out, about his health. And Trebone asks, does anyone think the whole Wilson thing seems suspicious? I hope I'm wrong, but something just seems off, and I think we might hear something about him resigning in the offseason. I don't think there's nothing suspicious. He's just not healthy, and he's trying to get healthy.
Yeah.
They also said we haven't heard anything from Junior or anyone else, but Joe Will is the one that is acting as GM, so he would be the one that we hear from.
Right.
Now he was asked. I didn't pull the clip from this, and I wasn't sure if we should even talk about it tonight, but. Just really briefly, they're not saying anything about his health. They're keeping it very private, which is totally fine. Some of the questions were asked if they expect Wilson to be back anytime soon, but they did not have a time frame whatsoever, and again, didn't want to talk about it. So we wish him the best. I don't think he's going to resign unless it is something serious. We don't know. We don't have any insights on any behind the scenes stuff. So. And I would, even if I did, I wouldn't share it because I wanted to stay private anyway.
But let's be clear, Joe Will is acting GM, but they're in conversation
exactly
the whole time, the whole way through. It's not like Doug is just kind of like, hey, I'm in Tahiti, and then go ahead and run the franchise. No, that's
it's not. Also Joe Will has been around since almost the beginning.
Yeah.
Him and Doug Wilson Jr., and a bunch of the old school guys, they've been there for 20, 30 years. Yeah. So they're very in tune with each other and discuss things with each other all the time. So they probably have a group text going on. They're just, blowing it up all the time.
Totally. Yeah, for sure.
Maybe they're pagers.
That's an old reference, Aaron. You're old.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. Yeah. So speaking of Joe Will, he does have some, I don't want to say decisions to make because, again, that's coming from Doug Wilson, but he has some decisions potentially to announce. Right. And one of those dealing with probably the best player on the team for this season, although it's been a little...
Timo, I think.
Okay, no, Timo. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Behind Timo, definitely.
Behind Timo, yeah. Tomas Hertl. And, of course, Tomas is in his contract season. So he'll be a UFA next season. So he doesn't have to sign with the Sharks. The Sharks own no rights to him, blah, 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 once he becomes a free agent, that is. So typically what you'll see is a team that's not looking like they're going to make the playoffs. You're going to trade their UFAs or pending UFAs away and get something in return for them because otherwise you finish the season, you don't make playoffs, and then they walk. The thing that they had said was that there was some mutual interest between the two. And that's actually in this clip, so I don't want to say it. So I'll let the clip do the talking for what is going on there. But essentially, just Joe Will talking about Tomas Hertl, right?
Right. It was asked about kind of like where they were in talks. Were they talking about trading? Were they even negotiating contract? Has a contract even been sent over to Hertl to review? Stuff like that. So here's what Joe Will had to say about Tomas Hertl.
I've talked numerous times with Craig Oster, Tomas's agent, and we've talked about a lot of things. And the one thing we have in common is that Tomas loves being a Shark, and we love having Tomas here, and so now it's finding the way to have that happen, through negotiation and talking about a next contract for him, in which we have done. And much like many other teams in the league, he's a player that we want as part of our team, and we're going to do everything we can to try and make that happen. It just is challenging always in an environment to where there's a flat salary cap, and that just makes it a little bit more complex in how you get to the end result. And but right now is we're engaged. I think we have Tomas is big part of our team, and we'd like to keep him.
So I think what would be really awesome is if they had some kind of handshake deal and they're like, Hertl, where do you want to go? We'll make it happen. And then the offseason you come back and sign with the Sharks.
Yeah.
Get as much assets as you can. We're going to try and trade you for a first-round pick. And then instead of signing with that team, you're going to sign with us as a free agent.
By the way, I don't know if you guys can hear that, but yes, there is a helicopter flying directly overhead.
They're looking for Paul.
They found me.
My ride's here.
Yeah.
If the camera cuts to Aaron and then it cuts back and I'm gone, they found me. So, I mean, He's talking about, we've gone through some talks. We've, maybe got some stuff in the works. Yeah, I mean, that'd be nice if they did something like that where there's kind of a handshake deal. But stuff like that usually doesn't happen.
No.
Yeah, so, but I would love for that, give the guy an opportunity, but then don't make him move, right? I think, there's mutual interest there. He wants to be a Shark longer term. The Sharks want him to be a Shark longer term. It's just a matter of getting that done. And he was referencing, cap and flat cap and everything else. I don't know. I think Hertl's one of those guys that, he's kind of the heartbeat on this team. Not necessarily. There's a couple guys that I would put in that category. I think Ferraro is definitely one of them. But I mean, Hertl's right there. Hertl for me he's right there as part of the heartbeat of the team. So, but I understand the business too. Just because you like the player and just because he's good for the locker room doesn't necessarily mean it makes sense for him to want to even re-sign in San Jose, right? The guy wants to go and he wants to go win. And if the Sharks aren't looking like they're going to do that now or in the near future before he's, over the hill, hockey over the hill, then maybe he wants to move on and go somewhere. I mean, look at Jumbo. Jumbo wanted to be a Shark for life, and then he ends up going to Toronto and going to Florida. He wants to go win a cup. Mm-hmm. And players want to do that before they're 42 years old, right? So I can't blame him if he does want to get traded. Or if he doesn't want to re-sign in San Jose after the season. I can't blame him for that unless, the Sharks can show him that, look, we're going to be a better team and here's how. And then they give him a convincing pitch, right? Like a timeshare.
Yeah.
Okay? If they give him a convincing pitch, look, we got Willie Eklund coming in the pipeline, right? We've got, a bunch of prospects that are tearing it up in their respective leagues that are going to be, vying for spots on this team. I promise you we're going to be looking for this type of player in free agency, or we're going to make a trade for this type of guy, whatever the case is, right? If you can convince him that way to stay, I'm sure he'd be more than happy to stay because, again, otherwise he's got to pick up his life and move. But then you really do need to have that team in place for the next season. You really do, because otherwise, man, that looks real bad. You tell a guy that, hey, we're going to be right back in there, And I think, for me, for the first time, I can say that I honestly do feel like it would make sense now for a rebuild to happen. Not a retool, for a rebuild. The only way, though, is if Hertl gets traded. If he gets traded, forget trying to retool. Just go all out and dump everything. For me, that's to me how important Hertl is to this team.
Wow.
Yeah, I think if Hertl goes, just start dumping.
All right.
That's my whole thought process on that one.
Sure. With that, let's do our roll call
Hooah!
And ask you, what do you want the Sharks to do?
Yeah.
Do you want them to sign Hertl or trade him? Let's hear it. Where are you watching from?
Yeah, sure.
And then the question, right? Tell us where you're watching and if you think Hertl should sign or be traded.
I want him to be a part of the team. I really do. But I just think it's not fair to the player if we're not going to be in contention. If we're not, right? And it looks like maybe we won't be. But hey, again, maybe Doug Wilson's pulled some magic tricks before, so who knows? But with Eklund coming in, if Dzingel kind of snaps out of it and kind of goes back to form, that 20-goal scoring form, no. Right? If LeBanc in his time off read some books on playing defense, who knows? I mean, maybe this team kind of isn't as bad as it turned out to be this season, and maybe they can make a push next season.
Yeah.
But I mean, and again, at the beginning of this season, I had said, this is a playoff team. And honestly, I think if they stayed healthy, and I think, I think it really what it comes down to is if they stayed healthy. And if Noah Gregor didn't have a 2.4% shooting percentage, I think we'd be in a much better space. So it's just unfortunate this season kind of just got away from us, I think. But, again, if they can convince Hertl next season, we'll be right back there, then great, good for him. I honestly think if Hertl's going to re-sign in San Jose, it should not be more than 2 years. Shouldn't be more than 2 years. It should be a 1 to 2 year contract.
For Hertl?
Yeah. Show me. Him telling them, show me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think that's silly.
I think Hertl should
I think his agents can be like, you want to get the most term and the most money. And to me, I think he's earned an $8 million a year contract.
I think his agent would be remiss to think, hey, let's sign with a team that's been at the bottom of the Pacific for 3 years in a row now for a long-term contract and lock you in to this situation.
Similar to Couture's deal, 8x8, with the promise of him being captain at some point in the near future.
I don't know that guys care that much about being captain. I don't know if it's, oh, I get to be the captain? Cool, well then I'll sign on.
He's one of the leaders.
Yeah, sure. But he's got an A on his jersey. Does the C on the jersey really mean that much more that he's like, fine, I'll stay? Or does going to a place where you're going to win a cup, regardless of what letter's on your jersey?
I want to hear him say, I'm the captain now.
I'm the well, you know I'm the captain now, so it's...
One must be captain.
God, can you imagine those press conferences
God.
with Hertl talking all the time?
Well, yeah, I can, because he does it.
I would love it.
Oh, my goodness. Imagine him in the locker room mad at everybody after a bad period. Just berating everyone as fast as he can, you know? I love that guy.
Yep.
Absolutely love that guy. I'd hate to see him go, but I understand if he does. It makes good business sense for him and for the team. But
I agree, but at this point, I think the Sharks are going to sign him now that they have the cap space with Kane's salary most likely gone. It's still not completely done. In fact, there was a question about an update on the arbitration. Joe Will had said that it's looking at this point, it's not going to happen before the trade deadline. So it's going to be happening much later. So they won't have an answer about it until probably the offseason.
Right.
And he said that he can't assume that money is all gone. Like he can't act, they can't go out and trade and sign all these people and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, that $7 million has to stick. And then you're like, well, I'm screwed now because I just spent all that money,
Yeah.
So he can't plan on it not being there. But I think most of it will be gone, but I think they're still going to get hit with the penalty.
I don't think they get hit with anything. I think if it's within the rules and they allowed them to do it, then it's within the rules, and they're not going to have – it's the contract is canceled, essentially, so there's no contract. I think they don't get hit with it. Now, I think they'll still okay money, but I don't think there's that cap hit is there.
Yeah.
So I think that $7 million's off the books.
Okay.
Which is a good thing because you can offer more of that to Hertl to try to get him to stay. Now, again, do you want to offer that to Hertl to get him to stay, or do you want, your rebuild, retooling, whatever, to kind of kick in full gear? Because if you do, the thing I don't like about here's the thing I don't even like about it. Okay, you trade Hertl. Who are you trading him to?
A
in
contender
general,
that you could probably withhold salary, maybe do a double withhold salary.
Forget that. Where are they in the standings?
Florida. What if he goes to Florida?
Okay, where are they in the
Reunited with
standings?
Thornton.
Where
At
are
the
they
top?
at the top?
Yeah.
The teams that are at the top of the standings, where are they picking in the first round?
Well, you'd probably want a first round this year and next year, so you get 2 first rounds.
Sure, but
even then, you can trade 2 first round picks
to move
up.
Sure.
Or a first and a second. You give me your first and second, and then I could take those and package them and go into a higher first round pick.
But barring that situation that you find someone willing to do that, because again, if you want to have your pick, say in the top 5, top 10, if you're that bad of a team, you want your top 5 or top 10 pick. You don't want a guy down in 29 and 27 or whatever it is, right? You want that guy. So I don't know that even packaging them together and moving up is really even going to work. That's a what?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. That's a scenario that is would work out well for the Sharks. I don't think that many teams would be like, yeah, let's do that. Let's take our top 5 and trade it down.
Thank you, Edgar, for the $2. What about a new coach? Is that on the table also? I talked about this, I think, last night, actually, with the fantasy team or the fantasy league. And to me, like, people were talking about, what if we had a new coach? Would that change things? And like, no. Like, Bob Bugner was given a pile of poop and said, here, make this a playoff team. And he molded it as best as he could. And I thought he did a phenomenal job. If there weren't so many injuries and Gregor could score, then this team would be in the playoff spot. And if they made the playoffs, I think you'd be up for the Jack Adams Award because that was a lot of undertaking and changing. I think the changing of culture worked.
Yeah.
I think he's done a phenomenal job, and I don't think another coach would have been able to. Another coach that was on the market at the time would have been able to do anything better.
I think Bob Bugner's biggest fault was allowing Evander Kane to do Evander Kane when he did. I think that was his biggest fault. Beyond that, I can't really fault the guy for the way the season went or the seasons prior. If you think about it, again, this is the whole COVID seasons, right? Those ones, other teams that go through it too. That doesn't mean everybody responds to it in the same way, right? people react differently to different situations, and it's not necessarily makes one better than the other. It's just they react differently. So, and that goes for the players as well. So you can't just put that all on Coach Bob Bugner. Maybe he reacted perfectly to it, and he was trying to get his guys to play the game a certain way or get their mind a certain way, and those guys didn't react properly or the way that he was hoping for, or the way that would have helped them progress their games forward. So I don't know if I could put it on just Bob Bugner. Now again, you look at where the defense was before he jumped in, and then after he jumped in, immediately there was an impact there. But again, I think the main fault was that he let Evander Kane get away with what Evander Kane got away with, and there were the complaints and the culture issue, and that was on his watch. So that I will say absolutely, that's on Bob. He's the coach. He needs to be in control of that situation, and he wasn't. This season, though, again, getting Evander kind of out of that whole culture, out of that situation, holding him accountable, getting him off the team, letting him go somewhere else, good for you. And again, you take a look at the culture after he's gone, and you hear players saying, hey, we're having fun now. It's a good time in the locker room, blah, blah, blah. Should we pat him on the back then? Is that because of Bob Bugner? If it is, then okay, fine, maybe it's a little bit justified the other way around. But if it's not on him, then why are we putting it on him from before, right? That the culture went downhill. So it's one of those things where we're pointing at a certain guy and we're saying it's because of you. But when things go good, we don't say, oh, it's because of you for the same reason. And I just don't think that that's necessarily fair. The other thing is we have no clue, guys. We're not in the locker rooms. And I say we, I don't mean me and Aaron. I mean everybody, the whole fan base.
Yeah.
And what I do know, though, is you can't change one piece and everything goes right. Okay, you can't change the coach.
Other teams have done it.
Okay. And is that sustainable?
I'm being the devil's advocate.
I know, but is that something that's sustained?
No.
I don't think you can change one piece and everything goes right. You change the coach and all the players go, oh man, we want to impress this coach. Okay, you didn't just change the coach then. All their mindsets changed. And they all decided they wanted to work harder. If they decided that for the coach that ended up getting booted out, they would have been a better team.
They call it the buy-in.
Right.
The team bought in on his philosophy and play style and culture change and everything else. And I think it's worked. I think the team looks way better than they did the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
I mean, he was the coach for a season and a half of that, but those were all shortened seasons and everything else. And he finally got to have a training camp and do everything he wanted to do. So I don't think the coaching is the problem. I think as someone said here, where is it? We have serious depth problem. Other teams have more depth in their lineup and they can suffer injuries and COVID, but not us this year. I full-heartedly agree. It's a depth problem. I think because of the heavy contracts the Sharks had, they could only do so much with what they had space with. If you kind of look at the Pittsburgh model, they have the top 3 guys, basically, top 3 paid guys, Crosby, Malkin, and Letang. They built around that, and for a while, Fleury. They built around that and had just, because Crosby is so good that they could put a third-line winger on there and make him a 30-goal scorer. So they kind of tried to do that model because they kind of had to based on the salaries and stuff. So you have your horses, and then you try and fill in the blanks. But if you lose one of those horses like Carlson, it all kind of falls apart. And I think that's where they're at right now. Yeah. Kellen said, do you think Bugner helped to bring that block shot mentality? And guys like Ferraro bought in. Bonino is also very high in that category. Well, they brought Bonino and Cogliano in because of that. And Nieto, too, for a little bit. They're big on what we talked about in the beginning of the season. Professionals, working hard, doing all the little things exactly like shot blocking. When you see a guy diving in front of a puck, in front of a shot, and you go, wow, like that kind of gets you to go, I need to do that.
I don't know if it's Bob Bugner's influence on Mario Ferraro. All I know is that Mario Ferraro is the hardest working guy on the ice every single night, night in, night out, game in, game out. Practices, doesn't matter. This guy goes 100% every single time. And he's one of those guys that I'll rewind and show my kids, dude, like that guy,
I don't think Bugner wasn't like the reason that he's like that, but I think he also nurtured and made it better.
Sure.
Because he was a hardworking guy, he was able to kind of keep saying mold, but mold him into a better player and because he was a hardworking guy already. So it's easier he's a easily coachable player. I mean, Mario Ferraro is not the most skilled defenseman with the puck, but he doesn't need to be. He needs to focus on the other parts of his game, which is what he does. And shot blocking, I mean, before he got hurt, he was, I think, leading the league in shot blocks, right?
He was.
I don't know if he still is now, but
he's up there, but I don't think he's leading anything.
Yeah, but I mean, that's if it was a different coach, I don't think he would be leading the league, but he would still be up there. But he wouldn't be. It wouldn't be as huge a big part of his game as it is now.
No, that's fair. That's fair. But either way, whether it's shot blocking or not, whether Bugner had an influence on the shot blocking or not, I think he goes to any team with any coach. That guy's impressing the hell out of everybody. He's working as hard as he can. He's going in the corners. He's digging it out. He does not stop. If you have a chance to just stare at Mario Ferraro during a shift, just watch him. Forget everything else. That is the way. If you're a coach, if you're a parent of a kid who's playing and wants to take their game to kind of that next step, maybe start doing travel stuff, have him watch Mario Ferraro. Even as forwards, have him watch Mario Ferraro. That guy does not give up. He is an absolute inspiration to watch. I love watching Mario Ferraro. He's phenomenal.
All right, I got two things here. Nick W., we need an all-star forward to come in, just ignite a fire like when we traded and got Joe Thornton back in the day, just a huge shot in the arm. Followed up by another one from Two Wheels Down. Everybody has to build through the draft now because the NHL's become a players in their 20s league. Players barely can keep up now after 32. And with that, I'm going to segue into Joe Will when he was asked about what his / the Sharks' favorite prospects are and kind of how they're coming along and what they're expecting for not necessarily this season, although some of these guys might be joining the Sharks at the end of the season because their seasons with their respective either college or other leagues will be finishing, and they'll be able to sign as a professional and join the Sharks or the Barracuda.
Yeah.
So here's a list, kind of a list of guys that he's excited about coming into both the end of this year and next year.
Of the prospects that are outside of the Sharks and Barracuda right now, it's kind of a group of six. You'd say Eklund and Bortolo. You said Brandon Coe, who's been first and second in scoring in the OHL during the year. Daniil Gushkin, who's also in the OHL and a very dynamic player. Tristan Robbins, who's been in top 5 in scoring in the WHL, and Ozzy Weisblatt, our first round pick from a few years ago, who plays kind of a grittier type of combination of grit and scoring. I think all 6 of them, they're all players that we look at that they all have legitimate chances to be kind of top 9 forwards in the in the NHL and have really helped our organizational depth. And I'd say we're bullish on all those players. There's also defensemen that we have in Gana Larocque and Kashnikov and Guriev and Benjamin Gaudreau and Magnus Krona. Amongst the goaltenders. And then within the Barracuda, I think you've seen a number of them. Scott Reedy is still amongst the goal leaders in the American Hockey League. So, he's having a heck of a year there. And then the players that we've kind of rotated in from the Barracuda this year. I think organizationally, prospect-wise, we're a bit deeper than we were. And, at the top end too is some of the guys that we saw in the lineup last year. There's still competition going, and this year kind of coming in, Barabanov and Dahlin actually kind of grabbed a couple of those spots there too, which shifted some guys that based on last year might have been in there. So I think we've attacked the depth a little bit, through the draft, through the prospect tier, through some of the players with the Barracuda, and then over the top by bringing back Dahlin and then. Trading for Barabanov last year.
So actually, a lot of solid names there. I like Tristan Robbins, Brandon Coe, Ozzy Weisblatt. I'm still kind of jury's out for me. I think he's a great player and everything. I just haven't seen a whole lot from him. I know Jonathan Becker will kind of tweet out these or retweet out, I guess, some of like things from the OHL showing like this player and that player and whatever else. And I don't see a whole lot from Weisblatt in that regard. So maybe not as flashy, but from the guys, and we saw Daniel Gushin do a phenomenal, what was a shootout goal, I think.
Yeah.
It was through the legs, then he pulled it back through his legs, and then he shot. Oh man, it was insane. So some high skill guys. Now again, for me, this isn't just about do the Sharks have prospects in their pipeline. This is also about do the Sharks have prospects to get Hertl to want to stay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think the future's looking better and better, and I think this year they're going to miss playoffs and have another higher, I wouldn't say like a top pick, like a top 3 pick, but probably up there in the top 10. That would be my guess. That's kind of where I kind of want the Sharks to stay almost where they are right now. Trade away some pieces, get a couple more draft picks coming either this year or next year. And then stocking that cupboard even a little bit more. To me, Ozzy Weisblatt is a guy, because he was a first-round pick, everyone's like high on him, thinking he's going to be a top 3, top 6 forward. I think he's going to be a very good third-line guy who's going to be doing a lot of penalty killing, maybe a little power play, kind of a guy that does it all. That's kind of me, what I think about him.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to get too excited about him. I'm more excited about Bordelot, Eklund, and was it Gushin?
Yeah, Daniel Gushin.
Gushin. That guy is a very high-skilled forward, which they don't have that many in their organization.
Right.
So that kind of excites me more. Like I bet Gushin would be, because I don't think he's a big guy, right?
No, I'm probably not.
That would be like a very good second-line winger that's going to be scoring some decent goals. He's not going to lead the team, but he's going to be up there in the top. So I'm excited for these guys. Plus, you get these other pieces that are already there, transitioning to them and changing the team. But I'm excited about these guys. Some of these we probably won't even see for another year or two. Mm-hmm. Someone asked about Merkley. Didn't hear Merkley's name. He was talking about people that are not in the Sharks or Barracuda.
Right.
And he's on kind of both right now this season.
Right.
So that's why I didn't talk about him.
So, and speaking of Ryan Merkley, I thought he hasn't played terribly. I think he's been pretty serviceable, actually. Mm-hmm. He's taken some time with the power play and everything, too, on that second unit, I believe, and just making the most of his time there. Now, are they putting goals in? Obviously, not so much. We've talked about the power play being a little bit limp, so is what it is. But, for all intents and purposes, the guy's, kind of making the best of his time there, and he's getting some looks, he's getting some experience, and that's kind of what you want out of Ryan Merkley, right? So, hopefully he gets through the rest of the season, gets some more experience, gets to learn a little bit more from the big guns and Brent Burns and Erik Karlsson. I actually see Merkley more in step with Erik Karlsson than Burnsy. I feel like he's a little bit more of he can move the puck a little bit better, for himself. I mean to say, and then he's got such great vision. He can find anybody on the rink. So I'm maybe for the first time about Ryan Merkley, maybe a little bit excited about it. I mean, I don't know. I think for all the years before, I was just kind of like, okay, well, he's still in the AHL. Let's, come on, buddy, come on.
It wasn't his offense that needed work. It was the defense 100%. And positioning, and I still think it's going to take time. I'm no longer thinking this guy's going to be the next Erik Karlsson. I think he's going to be at best, I would say, second pairing, puck-moving defenseman. Someone who he's going to need some kind of anchor type defenseman to play, and I think they had talked about Middleton being like that pairing with him. Yeah. Once Karlsson and Burns are gone, or maybe one of them is gone, and that moves him up the depth chart a little bit more. I could see that happening, but I don't think he's not gonna light up the league. He's not gonna be putting up 60, 70 points. It'll probably be like a 40-point guy, a second power play time. But makes the people around him better, like Karlsson does.
Sure,
not as good as Karlsson, but better than a right-handed shot defenseman that has stone hands and can't move the puck. Right?
Yeah.
So someone that could skate, and he's very good with it.
Guys, do you want to talk about any of the other prospects still, or no? You good?
That's good.
Okay, because there's guys that maybe we can get a little bit of an update on. I don't know, but we talked about Dzingel and kind of his, parallel from another universe, LeBanc, in that he's left-handed versus right-handed and playmaking versus shooting. So Kevin LeBanc obviously been out for pretty much the whole season. So
most of the season, I think since December is when he went out. The update on him was that he was progressing very well. What?
I thought he was been out for a lot longer.
No, you just think that because he wasn't playing well.
Do me a favor, guys. Can you double check on that one, please? Are you sure?
Kevin LeBanc's played 21 games.
Has he really?
Yeah.
He's been a ghost.
Yeah. He's 21 games. He had 3 goals and 3 assists. So anyway, he's progressing and should be back. They're expecting him back about mid-March.
Okay.
So to that point, though, there is absolutely no right-handed shot forward in the lineup. The only right-handed shots right now are Burns, Merkley, and Milosh when he's playing.
I don't even
He's right-handed, right?
I guess. I don't even know.
I think that's it. So there's no forward that has a right-handed shot. So, and Dzingel has apparently a great slap or a one-timer.
One-timer, yeah.
But he's a lefty, so.
In fact, Reimer had said he's not looking forward to taking his shots in practice. Right?
Yeah, because he played with him in Carolina.
Yeah,
so he took a lot of practice shots from him.
I hope he can spark something, man. I really do.
I'm sure he will. I'm sure the first couple games he's gonna put in a couple goals. Everyone's gonna love him.
Yeah.
And then, as some people said, someone had said, I think he's our resident Ottawa Senators fan, is that he was like the cockiest player that never did anything.
Great. Great. We need another one of those.
We talked about the Sharks don't really have a cocky player that shoots, and they kind of needed that.
Okay.
Not that he's going to be a 40 goal scorer, but they needed somebody there that's going to always shoot.
So, well, you were saying they needed a guy like Evander Kane, and I feel like they did, except for all the other stuff. So, I don't know. Maybe he's not Evander Kane.
Well, no, you can't replace Evander Kane.
Yeah, for sure.
That's especially like someone you're going to pull off of waivers. He's not going to be a Evander Kane type. So
whatever, man. They got a guy out of the AHL in Evander Kane. So it can happen. Just saying. Anyway, so LeBanc supposedly going to be back. So that everybody who's got something bad to say about LeBanc, fine. But at the same time, dude, he is an NHL caliber forward. He's got his flaws, but he's an NHL caliber forward who's more known for sparking plays.
Yes.
And this is what the Sharks need. They need people to make plays. Because it ain't happening through Noah Gregor, that's for sure. Knizhov.
Yeah, you remember that guy?
Yeah, I do. I missed that guy.
I do too. I forgot about him until we got an update. I'm like, wow, he's been out all season.
Yep.
That kind of happened, I think, during training camp. Something popped up, and it was an injury, and ended up lingering. And I can't remember if he had surgery or not.
But for him, there's nothing new. There's no.
No, they said there's. Joe Will had said there's not really a timetable for him, so there's a chance that he could miss the entire season.
Yeah.
Which is just terrible. I feel bad for him.
It sucks because he did. I felt like the last season he had a really, for himself, career-wise, he had a good breakout season.
Well, he had great chemistry with Karlsson.
Absolutely.
They were paired up at the end of last season. They were doing very well together.
Now, maybe Karlsson just makes people better, and that's fine, but I thought he held his own. As a defenseman, I thought he held his own. He did a good job controlling, the gaps and pushing people towards the wall and all that, the things that a solid defensive-minded defenseman should do. And I don't know necessarily that he is like the defensive-minded guy, because I think he still kind of moves the puck fairly well.
He's a defensive defenseman, but he's not a slouch when it comes to moving the puck, which is why I think he did well with Karlsson, because you could see his game kind of develop with Karlsson. His what do you call it? His confidence grew, where he was under pressure with the puck and he was able to get it out, skate it out, or make a play to get it out. Yeah. So I thought it was great. Right now, the Sharks, because they put Adin Hill on IR today, they have almost $20 million on IR right now.
Woo.
They have Karlsson, who's a big chunk of it. That's half. Yeah. LeBanc, 4.7. Adin Hill's 2.1. Knizhov is on there, and Jacob Magna is another one.
That's a lot. Do you think they just leave Karlsson on long-term IR for the rest of the season and then use that gigantic chunk of change to take on some bad contracts, get some first-round picks or second-round or whatever?
Maybe.
Get maybe a prospect here.
Or they do we'll retain salary for a draft pick.
Yeah.
I think it's... It depends on Carlson's injury too. I think he's going to be coming back. They held him out. I feel like they did this last season where they held him out and he wanted to come back and play the last 2 weeks, and they're like, no, we want you healthy. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do it, but I also think he'd be pissed if he was ready to play and they wouldn't do it. You know what I mean?
Okay, that's fair.
I don't mind Erik Karlsson playing. It's fine. Like at this point, like at the end of the season, because this cap hit goes down every single time, so they already have a bunch of space. I mean, especially if they're taking on rental players and then the Kane thing comes back during the offseason, all those things will be gone anyway. So they could pull on those 1-year stuff. I don't know.
Okay, then.
Right.
Yeah. Screeching halt, no segue. Okay, well, I'll try to make it a little segue here. Players missing from the San Jose Sharks roster. Fans missing from SAP Center.
Yes, it's very noticeable.
I'm not bad at it, guys. I'm not good, but I'm not bad.
It's very noticeable on TV.
Yeah. A lot of seats.
Especially when you're at the game. You notice they put in those lights in the seats. So when you see more lights, you know there's less people.
Because they're not sitting in front
right.
of it. You know, it's funny because you had said, and I don't think it was that long ago, oh, it's great now. They've got all their fans are starting to come back. It was jumping in there, and then all of a sudden we're back
I was at the game against the Flyers, and I think it was right after Christmas. It was, I want to say it was like 90% full. It was almost a sellout. There was a lot of people in there. I was like, wow, this is amazing. And then, you know, Omicron came, and I think that scared a lot of people. And especially right after the holidays, everyone seemed to be getting it. We got it. I got it. You got it. And it was well after that. It wasn't from that game, in case anyone's freaking out. But, I think that's part of it is you have to be fully vaccinated or show a proof. It's just a pain, right? You have to do all these steps to get in. It's slower at the gate. It's still very expensive. The team is just not. Some nights are great. Some nights you're like, oh, wow, Timo Meier scored 5 goals in a game. That's fantastic. I wish I was at that game. And then there's games against Edmonton where they lose 3-0. They look lifeless. It's like, it's a crapshoot. What are you going to get? Which team are you going to get? So I think that combined with the Warriors are fantastic. They're fun to go watch. They're in a brand new arena, so a lot of people are going to be going to those games or just watching them on TV.
We're in an area where fans have options. Right?
The Niners moved down to Santa Clara, so I mean their season's done now, but I think that takes a big chunk out of that first half of the season.
Right.
I think if the Sharks were in a playoff position and were playing well, you see a big jump when the Niners season ends, where everyone's like, okay, now I need to pay attention to the Sharks because there's only 20, 30 games left and the playoffs start, and I should know these players' names.
Right.
You know? So I think you see a big jump there.
But if you paid for season tickets for Niners, you probably didn't pay for season tickets for Sharks. And if you're jumping in now, you're looking at the team that's like, oh, they're not good. I'm not going to bother. Right?
That was a big problem, I think, for season ticket holders when the San Francisco 49ers moved down to Santa Clara. Now, for those of you who are not in the area, San Jose and Santa Clara are literally next to each other. Like, you can drive right across the street and you don't even know you just switched cities. The Niners used to play in Candlestick Park up in San Francisco. They moved south. I want to say it's 40 miles south of San Francisco. It is the furthest stadium in the NFL from what they claim is the home team. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, New England Patriots don't play in Boston. They play in Foxborough, which is like nothing. Like, there's nothing out there.
Okay.
But they don't claim to be the Boston Patriots. They're the New England Patriots. So it's a little different. But then you have other teams that, you know, the New York Giants play in New Jersey. They don't play in New York. So that's one of the comparisons of how far it is, and the Niners are still even further than that. Anyway, before we get too much into a 49er show.
Okay, yeah.
That took a lot because of the seat licenses, because it was a new stadium. A lot of the money that was season ticket holders of the Sharks. You know, the Sharks were the only good team in the Bay Area for a long time. So everyone wants to latch onto a good team. Now you have a shiny new stadium that's very expensive. You have to get in there. You're going to say, well, the Sharks are kind of on the downside of their bubble for playoff, right? Their window. So, and the Niners are good. They went to Super Bowl. They're like, yeah, new stadium, going to a Super Bowl. Let's do it. So then they sign a seat license for, you know, it's for life. Like when you buy your seat license, and buying a seat license just means you have the right to buy that season ticket. Doesn't give you the season tickets, doesn't give you anything. So you gotta plop $10,000 to $40,000 per seat to own the seat. Yet if you don't renew your tickets, you lose it.
Yeah.
It's like it's maddening that people pay this stuff. Like, it's so stupid. Anyway, that's a lot of money that no longer goes to the Sharks.
Right.
So I think we saw a big decline. I mean, I was a season ticket holder for 10 years. One of the main reasons I stopped was ticket prices kept going up every year. It got to the point where I couldn't make games anymore. I couldn't make every game.
Right.
So I tried and sell my tickets, and I wasn't trying to make money. I was trying to get face value.
Break even.
And my tickets at the time were $30 a seat because I was up high in the nosebleeds. I was, broke. And I was trying to sell them for $20.
Yeah.
And they were selling for $11. Like, it was like, why have season tickets when I could just go?
Yeah.
I want to go to a
Spend
game.
$11.
I can make 10 games. I'll just buy it last minute, $10, walk right into the stadium. So it just, the secondary market just crashed. People weren't going. So for me, it was pointless. That was me personally. I don't want to say that's for everybody that had it. But anyway, they have a big problem. So going into next season, it's the first time since the lockout of 2004 that they reduced ticket prices. So they are lowering ticket prices next season.
Yeah. If I was them, I would too. You take a look at the attendance, you take a look at the team, and you take a look at the trajectory of the team, and probably looking at needing to drop the price.
Yeah.
Because nothing's working.
I think it was long overdue.
Yeah.
I think it was almost 8 years too late.
All right, cool. I don't know where else to go with this. No,
Upcoming games for the week.
Yeah, upcoming games.
There's 4 this week. It's a busy week.
Wow, okay.
It's Monday. Today's a holiday.
Yeah.
But today's Monday.
Right.
They're playing tomorrow.
Okay.
So they're playing tomorrow in Anaheim. I think this was the game that was being made up from Christmas.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think. I could be wrong. Then they're playing Thursday at home against the Islanders. And then they have back-to-back Saturday, Sunday.
The return of Kevin Kurz.
Oh, yeah. You're right. You're right. So if you look at the schedule, they're playing Boston Saturday, Seattle Sunday. What's good is it's not reverse. It wouldn't be Seattle Saturday and Boston Sunday because then that would be like a scheduled loss. So they'll be stronger against Boston than they would be if they were playing them on the back-to-back.
Right.
But Seattle has the Sharks number.
That's true.
And
So it doesn't really matter.
No, but I would still rather play Boston first and then Seattle.
See, I don't know. I kind of would rather play the team that's in your division and try to get the win against them. If you're going to get a loss, may as well get a loss against Boston.
But I would rather play all out against Boston and pull out a win and then go, okay, confidence booster, let's beat this Kraken team that's been beating us. Even though we're tired, we should be better, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. But that's not going to happen.
No, it's not. It's not. It's totally not going to happen.
So what do you think? What do you think this week?
Oh,
4
man.
games. 4 games. How many points?
Anaheim, I think Anaheim we lose.
Wow, really? Okay.
I think Anaheim is just a better team right now. I don't think we pull one out against Anaheim. Islanders, I think Kurz's presence is enough to shake, rattle, and roll the team.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Islanders is going to be a tough one. I think they're playing. Well, actually, no, they haven't been too great recently, have they? I think we were still getting
the Islanders.
We were still getting
been
some
awful.
Yeah, we've been getting updates from Kurz still because we were following him. Sorry, Kevin. I unfollowed you on Twitter. I apologize. Okay, but everything I see is about the Islanders now, and I just don't care about the Islanders. When you come back in town, hit us up. I'd love to go get a beer with you or something like that. But other than that, I don't want to hear about the Islanders.
The Islanders have 43 points, and the Sharks have 49.
Oh.
So
they are awful then.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. They've been the surprise awful team.
Okay, then, yes, I feel like that'll be a closer game. I don't know that they're going to pull this one off, but I feel like it'll be a closer game.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think any of these games are going to be blowout wins or anything like that. I don't think the Sharks are going to just magically wake up and just spot 5 on a team.
Right.
I just don't see that happening. I don't care who it is, even Seattle, right?
You
Certainly
don't
not going to happen against Boston.
It's not going to be the Dzingel factor?
Ooh. The Dzingel factor. You know what? There's a missed opportunity here, by the way, okay? If Tommy Wingels hadn't left and Ryan Dzingel, if there was some universe where Wingels was still on the team and we were able to get Dzingel, you could have the Wingel Dzingel line.
Yeah, the closed caption.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I know, right? Closed captions going,
Off
what is going on?
the rails.
I'm just saying, I
We
think
hit
it's a
that
missed
point.
opportunity. That's all. So
Peter St. John said, I'm saying 0 points.
0 points? No, Peter, no. Woo! We're going with at least 2. They're going to pull out a win somewhere. I just don't know where it is.
Which game should Sachenko start? Seattle.
Islanders.
The back-to-back. Seattle.
Okay, sure.
That's what I was thinking.
Sure, that makes sense. Against Seattle?
Yeah.
Do you put him in against Boston and just be like, meh?
No.
And then you play...
Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. But then you have Reimer against Seattle. Again, a divisional opponent. Makes more sense to try to gather points here. Or are we just throwing points to the wind and forget it? Let's just see how low we can go.
At this point, I think, not that they're tanking, I think
they're doing the limbo rock right now.
at this point, the players kind of know they're not making playoffs. Especially after this week. This week's going to be the nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
Now they're playing to get traded. Not the guys with the big contracts. The guys that are on 1-year contracts.
Yes.
They're UFAs.
Right.
Like, they're playing for their career now. They're playing, like, I need to be a showcase kind of what I can bring to a playoff team. Most likely because they're going to get traded.
Yeah.
Or they're just playing well so that when they go into the offseason, they're going to get a new contract.
Okay, 2 things. If Noah Gregor all of a sudden goes off and scores at a ridiculous pace, I'm going to be pissed.
But
okay?
Noah Gregor's an RFA. It's not going to be UFA.
Okay, fine.
But
But
it's different.
But still,
So
if
I'm
the
talking-
Sharks could get something for him, they would
All right,
trade him.
Here's the UFAs. Obviously, Hertl.
Yeah.
Dzingel is a UFA. Cogliano. Barabanov. Those 3 guys.
I like Barabanov. I think you re-sign him.
I think so too, but he's going to cost more than $1 million.
Is he?
If Kevin LeBanc got 4.7,
Okay, Kevin LeBanc has history though.
sure.
He's got time in.
I'm not saying Barabanov should get 4, but it's
Okay.
definitely more than 1. I'd say closer to 3.
Okay.
I'd be happy
But with that
about
much
$3
cap
million.
space between 1 and 3 is not going to kill their cap.
No, but I'm saying it's going to take 3 to sign him,
Fair.
to keep him.
Fine. I think you keep him. Personally.
I want to keep him.
We're not going long term on the guy.
No,
It's a
no.
couple years, right?
I'd say 2 years,
Yeah.
maybe 3.
There you go.
3 years,
That's a
$3
guy
million
that you
each.
resign. Personally, that's a guy you resign.
Right. But anyway, my point
Yes.
is these guys are going to be playing because they're most likely going to get traded. Not Barabanov.
So if
but
Hertl goes
Cogliano, Dzingel.
If Hertl goes off, we should take that as a sign. He's gone.
No, you're missing the point. You're
just-
missing the point here.
Get on with it.
Get on with it. I think he said that because he doesn't. The Gremlins ate his "Get On with the" clip. Is that why you said it out loud? Do you not have the
We
clip?
stopped streaming
We
an
sto-
hour ago.
we stopped screaming.
You guys are just talking to yourselves.
I would not be shocked. All right, I think that's Super Producer Jason's way of saying let's end the show here. So, is there any last second comment that you want to bring up before we go?
D's Wingles.
D's Winkles.
Best wing spot in town.
Who said it? Put it on the screen. Who said it?
Kellen Foster.
Kellen. Well done, Kellen.
That was a good one.
D's
That was a good
Winkles.
one.
Come into a t-shirt. There you go.
Yeah.
Now we're off the rails. Thank you, Kellen. There we go.
Apparently, Barabanov is rumored to want $4 million for 3 years, similar to Fabry.
Yeah, well.
what he got,
I want 4 million.
according to
Enjoy getting
Champagne.
that. Enjoy getting that elsewhere. Sorry.
Again, he's showcasing because he wants to get paid.
Everybody wants to
Not
get
necessarily traded, but he wants to get
paid.
paid.
Everybody wants to get paid. It's a matter of if you're going to. I don't know, 4 million.
Yeah.
Is he 4 million?
Who?
Barabanov.
Right now?
Yeah.
He's $1 million.
No,
right
I'm
now.
saying, is he a $4 million player?
Oh.
Do you pay him $4 million? I don't.
You look at LeBanc getting 4.7.
I don't pay LeBanc 4.7 though.
Depends also who's in the pipeline, who's going to be taking that roster spot.
We got plenty of guys in the pipeline, buddy.
No, my point is I think we already have guys that would be replacing Barabanov next year.
Yeah.
So I don't think 4 million. 4 million is too much. I'd
Yeah,
say
exactly.
3. 3 most. I'd be happy with that.
That's what I'm talking about. You
Maybe-
try to get 4 million from me. it
Maybe
ain't happening.
3.8.
Okay. No. This guy here. All right. I think that'll do it for tonight. Hey, man, we want to thank you guys for sticking around through our ramblings, and we do appreciate you guys with the comments there. It's fun getting to talk to them and everything. So, again, if you guys are not subscribed, please make sure that you do that. Hit that notification bell so you know that when we are going live so that we can have these conversations because, again, it's for my enjoyment, not yours. Please feel free, again, comment, share this out to all your friends and family. Sharks folks, why are you biting your lip? Share this out to them. That's how the channel grows. So if you're enjoying us, get us out to the people that might enjoy us as well. Any last second thing you want to? Well, visit thefinfactor.com. That is a good thing to bring up right now. For the people on the podcast, that was not put on the screen. I remembered it myself. Go to thefinfactor.com. Check out the support link. You're supporting the show. That is where you can find all the merchandise, the hats, the water bottle that he's got here, the canteen, I guess. The shirts, the fanny packs.
Where's the fanny pack?
Yeah, well, the fanny pack is stored away. It's mine.
Stored?
It is mine. I'm
Yeah,
not bringing it
bring
here
it.
so that you can try to steal it.
You should be wearing it and put your microphone pack in it.
I'll call it a forehead pack because I'll strap it to my head and just unzip stuff from here. You got it. You feel free to do the same, by the way, you guys. Anything that we sell on thefinfactor.com, surely do appreciate all the love and support you guys are giving us through there. So there is that. If you did not know, we do accept tips through Venmo. I know a lot of you guys don't like doing it through YouTube, but you can do it there at the Fin Factor. But we still have super chat. So again, next time around, if you guys want to support the show that way, feel free to do that as well. Thank you so much.
I think we should get a shirt that has a toaster on it with the Fin Factor sticker on it.
I think that would be a good idea.
Think we can have that happen, Jason?
Yeah, sure, we'll get on it.
Yeah, sure. He's on it right now. Perfect. Okay. We good?
Good.
We're good. Thank you guys again for tuning in. So for super producer Jason, I'm Paul.
And I'm Aaron.
We will see you guys
Next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode, check out our other content, especially interviews. You can interact with us directly through social media at The Fin Factor and on Instagram at Fin Factor. And don't forget to join our live streams on YouTube.
Visit our website at thefinfactor.com, where you'll find all of our episodes as videos or podcasts. You'll also find our exclusive merchandise to help support our show.